While internet sleuths were spending their time on Reddit and Facebook speculating about who may have been responsible for the horrific murders of 4 University of Idaho college students at the off-campus house they shared on King Road in Moscow, Idaho, investigators were busy building a case against their primary suspect, a 28-year-old Washington State University graduate student named Bryan Christopher Kohberger, who was arrested at the Pennsylvania home of his parents on December 30th, 2022. Here's how they did it. After responding to the crime scene on Sunday, November 13th, detectives with the Moscow Police Department began interviewing friends and family of the victims, trying to discern their actions and whereabouts leading up to the murders. Specifically, they spoke with 2 surviving roommates who were in their rooms in the house during the time of the murders. One of the roommates, DM, told investigators she heard sounds coming from the floor above her and went out of her room on the 2nd floor 3 times to try and determine what was going on. The 3rd time, at around 4:17 a.m., DM said she saw the figure of a man coming towards her before locking herself back in the room. She provided a physical description of the man, specifically that he had bushy eyebrows. While searching the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print just outside of DM's bedroom door, confirming her statement regarding the suspect's path of travel in the home. Next, investigators conducted a video canvass in the area of the King Road residence, where they obtained video surveillance footage from both residential and business addresses. From this footage, they were able to identify a white sedan without a front license plate making its way towards the home at 3:26 a.m. the morning of the 13th. The same vehicle was seen in the area by the King Road home multiple times between 3:29 and 4:20 a.m. The vehicle first made 3 passes by the home at 4:04 a.m., attempted to park in front of the home, then made a 3-point turn at the end of the street. At 4:20 a.m., the vehicle was observed departing the area at a high rate of speed. Moscow investigators, with assistance from the FBI, were able to determine the make and model of the vehicle, a white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra, and began canvassing the area for cars that matched the description. At the same time, they received surveillance footage from Washington State University, 10 miles to the west of Moscow in Pullman, Washington, which showed a vehicle matching the one seen at King Road leaving the Pullman area at 2:44 a.m. on the 13th, later returning to the area at 5:25 a.m. On November 29th, a Washington State University police officer queried white Elantras registered with the school, resulting in the discovery of a vehicle registered to Bryan Kohberger, a graduate student at the school who drove a 2015 white Elantra with Pennsylvania plates. That day, another WSU officer was looking for Elantras and found one with Washington plates in the parking lot of an apartment building on campus. He ran the plates and they returned a Bryan Kohberger tag. The officer passed that information back to Moscow police, who reviewed Kohberger's driver license and noticed his physical description, specifically the bushy eyebrows, matched the description given to him by the surviving roommate, DM. Kohberger's vehicle was captured by a license plate reader in Loma, Colorado on December 13th, a patrol officer in Hancock County, Indiana on December 15th, and at his parents' residence in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania on December 16th. Law enforcement continued surveillance of him from that point on. During that time, investigators discovered that Kohberger had been pulled over by the Latah County Sheriff for a traffic stop in Moscow on August 21st, at which time he provided his cellular phone number. Using that number, a search warrant was obtained to determine cellular devices utilizing cellular towers in close proximity to the King Road residence between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. on the morning of November 13th. Working with the FBI's Cellular Analysis Survey Team, or CAST, investigators were able to trace Kohberger's phone from 2:42 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. on the morning of the 13th. They learned from this data that Kohberger had traveled to and from Pullman to Moscow using a route that circumvented the traditional linear route across state lines. Additionally, they determined that Kohberger's phone had been in the area of the King Road residence between 9:12 and 9:21 a.m. the morning after the murders, and had arrived back at Kohberger's Pullman apartment at 9:32 a.m. that same morning, November 13th. The real bombshell came when investigators were granted a search warrant for Kohberger's cell site location information, or CSLI, from June 23, 2022 to current, and a pen register, trap, and trace on his phone. Upon receiving the data, investigators were shocked to see that Kohberger's phone pinged the cell tower servicing the King Road residence at least 12 times between June 23rd and the day of the murders, always either in the late evening or early morning hours. The final nail in the coffin for Kohberger came when Pennsylvania agents recovered trash from outside of the Kohberger family home in Albrightsville, where they obtained a DNA profile that matched the DNA profile from the knife sheath discovered at the crime scene. Armed with this information, the Moscow Police Department applied for and received an arrest warrant on November 29, 2022, and in the early morning hours the next day, November 30th, a Pennsylvania State Police tactical team and the FBI raided the Kohberger home in Albrightsville and arrested Bryan, who waived his extradition rights and was flown back to Moscow on Wednesday, January 4th, where he is now being held in the Latah County Jail and faces 1 count of robbery and 4 counts of murder in the first degree. Thank you for watching.